Hello, this is Michael with Avik, and today I'm bringing you a fun lesson that I created for my students based on Squid Game. So like all of my lessons, you'll find vocabulary words and discussion questions for you to practice with a conversation partner. And if you don't know, Avik is an online school for advanced English. I help high, intermediate, and advanced English students advance to being fluent in English. So this will be a pretty difficult lesson, but I invite you to try it if you are learning English, and perhaps you'll like it. So I'm going to make myself disappear so that you can see my PowerPoint presentation better. With that said, let's begin. Okay. Learn Advanced English with Squid Game. Episode 1. Red light, green light. Okay, so normally I would have students pronounce the vocabulary words and I would correct their pronunciation errors. Since I can't hear your voice to correct any pronunciation errors, what we're going to do is listen and repeat. So I will say the words and you will repeat them as accurately as you can to copy my pronunciation. So, 1. Children's game. Easy to learn games that are often played by children at school or outdoors with their friends. Example. Children's games that are popular in the US include tag, hide and seek, freeze tag, red rover, jump rope, and of course, red light, green light. 2. Premise. The E is silent at the end. Premise. A proposition upon which an argument is based or from which a conclusion is drawn. 3. Impoverished. The O is like a ah, impoverished. Reduced to poverty, poverty-stricken. Example. The premise of Squid Game is that a group of impoverished people who are drowning in debt will risk their lives for the chance to win a life-changing amount of prize money. Number 4, debt. You can pronounce this word with the B sound like debt, or you can pronounce it like debt without the B, sort of in the French pronunciation. It's usually easier for people to hear the sound correctly if you add the B and say debt. So either way, however you prefer, but I do recommend debt. Number 4, debt. Something owed, such as money, goods, or services. 5, to repay. To return the value of something owed, such as money, an act of kindness, a compliment, etc. 6, to gamble. To bet on an uncertain outcome, as of a game or sporting event. To play a game for stakes, the thing at risk. So the stakes are what you gamble. Like, what are the stakes? The stakes are $100 or whatever you're gambling. So here, Gi-hun is betting on horse races. Example. Gi-hun is a 47-year-old man who is impoverished and hopelessly in debt. In order to get the money that he needs to repay his debt, he gambles on horse races. Seven. Pickpocket. A person who steals from the pockets or handbags of others in public places. Example. While running away from people he owes money to, Gi-hun unknowingly bumps into a pickpocket. 8. Thugs. So this does have the th, the dental fricative pronunciation. If you haven't seen any of my videos talking about how to pronounce that, you put the tip of your tongue on the bottom of your top teeth. You make your mouth small so that the air can come from a small space, and you say th. You really need to pronounce this sound strong to say thugs. And also note that the S at the end of the word is really pronounced like a Z. So make the sound strong and long. Thugs. If you try to say thugs, make it short, it's not going to be something that a listener will understand. So make it long. Thugs. A tough and violent person. A vicious criminal. 9. To get jumped. To be attacked suddenly by a group of individuals using physical violence, usually against a single person. Example. Gi-hun then gets jumped by thugs who demand that he repays the money he owes. It's only then that he realizes that he was robbed by a pickpocket. In response, the thugs make him sign a contract in blood, stating that if he doesn't repay them in a month, then they're going to cut out his liver and right eye to sell for money. Number 10. Salesman. Salesman. A person who sells merchandise or services either in a shop or by canvassing in a designated area. Canvassing in a designated area means like in a small space where like they go back and forth, like maybe in a market or in front of a store, something like that. 11. Train station. A terminal where trains load or unload passengers or goods. 12. Subway station. Essentially the same as a train station, but underground. So there's the game ddakji. There's Gi-hun getting slapped in the face for losing. But like I said, wait, I forgot to say, there are spoilers in this. So if you haven't seen Squid Game, then you should definitely watch it. It's really good. Okay, 13. To slap. A sharp blow made with the open hand or with a flat object. A smack. By the way, if you slap someone with the front of the hand, that's called a front hand slap. And if you slap someone with the back of the hand, that's called a backhand slap. Example. While depressed and worried about his debts, Gi-hun encounters a salesman at a train station. The salesman invites him to play a game of ddakji for the chance to win 100,000 won. However, if Gi-hun loses, then he has to give the salesman the equivalent amount. Of course, the salesman is an expert at the game, so he wins immediately. Then, when Gi-hun can't pay, the salesman offers him the chance to pay with his body. In exchange for slapping Gi-hun in the face, the salesman will subtract 100,000 won from the amount that Gi-hun owes him. This results in Gi-hun getting slapped repeatedly until he eventually wins. That's a funny picture. 14. Congratulations. So, in the word congratulations, the TU is like a Jew sound, actually, kind of like a J. Congratulations. Isn't that strange? Congratulations. This is the proper thing to say to someone who wins a game, such as in gambling. Better luck next time. This is the proper thing to say when someone loses at a game of chance, such as in gambling. (16) A high-stakes game. A game of chance with something of especially high value at risk, usually a large sum of money. So notice here that high stakes has a hyphen between the words high and stakes. The reason why that is because the two words high and stakes are functioning as a single compound adjective modifying the word game. So when you have an adjective that's made of multiple words, you connect them with the hyphen, and that's a compound adjective. Obviously, that's not a part of this lesson. I just like saying stuff like that. That's why I'm a teacher. 17. A catch. An unexpected and unfavorable condition that is attached to an otherwise good offer or deal. Example. The salesman invites Seong Gi-hun to participate in a series of high-stakes games with the chance of winning a large sum of money. But of course, there's a catch. The catch, by the way, is that you have to play a game in which you can die. Spoiler alert. Number 18, motivation. The state of being motivated, having a desire or willingness to act. 19, custody. Custody. the control and care of a person or property, especially when granted by a court. Example. As a secondary character motivation, Gi-hun needs money to regain custody of his daughter. At this point, the story has firmly established that Gi-hun's back is against the wall financially. He has no realistic option other than taking a chance on the salesman's offer. Thus, Seong Gi-hun enters the Squid Game. 20. Gas. The state of matter distinguished from the solid and liquid states by relatively low density and viscosity. 2. Gas. To treat chemically with gas. To overcome, disable, or kill with poisonous fumes. Example. Gi-hun enters a mysterious van. He's then immediately gassed and put to sleep. He awakes wearing a tracksuit in a room filled with hundreds of other people dressed identically to himself. 21. Exposition. Exposition. A statement or rhetorical discourse intended to give information about or an explanation of difficult material. Example. A group of masked men appear and deliver a lot of exposition that explains the rules of the games to both the contestants and the audience watching at home on Netflix. So, exposition is also kind of like dialogue, except it's sort of one-sided dialogue where a person's just explaining something. It's necessary for the story to advance, but it's not the most interesting thing. So I didn't want to explain all the exposition, so you can sort of summarize it as there's exposition, meaning a lot of words are spoken explaining a thing. 22. To skip. So make sure you say skip and not skeep. The most common error that students make is mispronouncing the sound I, which is the short vowel I that we have in English. So a lot of languages just have the long vowel E, but there is a distinction in English that changes the meaning of words depending on the sound E or I. So you specifically have to say skip. If you say skeep, we won't understand what you're saying. Okay. To skip. To pass from point to point, omitting or disregarding what intervenes. To skip ahead. To jump from one important plot point to the next important point when telling a story. Skipping ahead, the players arrive at the field where the first game will take place. It's at that time that Gi-hun speaks to his childhood friend, Cho Sung-woo. The players soon learn that they must play the children's game, red light, green light. Except that there's a catch. When players are eliminated, they're actually terminated. 24. To terminate. To bring to an end or halt. To murder or assassinate someone. 25. To panic. Again, it has the I sound. To panic. A sudden, overpowering feeling of fear, often affecting many people at once. 26. Fight or flight response. So again, we have a compound adjective. Fight or flight are connected by hyphens to make a single adjective that modifies the noun response. Fight or flight response. A biological response of humans and other animals to acute stressors. In other words, when threatened, people will either fight or flee, which means run away. Example. When the players learn the true nature of the game they're playing, they're filled with a sense of absolute panic. Naturally, they respond with the fight or flight response, yet those who try to flee are killed. This leaves Gi-hun on the ground, frozen in fear. "27. To remain calm and collected. To remain calm and collected. To not panic and continue to think rationally amid a threatening or frightening situation. Example. Fortunately, Cho Sung-woo remains calm and collected. He figures out that the eyes of the giant doll are motion sensors. This means that if the players hide behind another player, then the doll won't be able to see them. He explains this plan to Gi-hun. You know, there are times where a bullet can actually go through a person and hit the person behind them. This isn't the best plan in the world, but I guess it's a plan. And besides, it's a show. The important characters aren't going to die this early. But don't try this at home, kids. 28. The finish line. The line or point that marks the end of a race or competition. Example. The players rush to the finish line. Sang-woo is among the first competitors to reach the end. So there you see Sang-woo completing the race. 29. To trip. Again, not to treep, to trip with the I. To stumble or fall. Example. Unfortunately, Gi-hun trips before he can cross the finish line. Yet when it seems like he's going to fall and be eliminated, he's caught by a player named Ali. In the nick of time. At the last possible moment before a deadline or before something begins to end, just in time. Together, Ali and Gi-hun cross the finish line just in the nick of time. All the other players who fail to cross the finish line before the time limit expires are eliminated all at once. And thus, the first of the 6 games of the Squid Game comes to an end. Dramatic. Okay, so next we're going to do the discussion questions, so I'll explain. With a conversation partner, take turns answering each of the following questions. Remember that in order to become fluent in English, it's absolutely necessary to practice talking about new things in new ways. Use all of the English that you know and try to be as creative and expressive as possible. So, find someone else who's studying English to practice with. If you don't have conversation partners, you can always join AVIC and you'll have classmates that you can practice with. Otherwise, you'll take turns answering the question. The first person will answer, then the other person will answer. Then after both people have answered, you move on to the next question. I'm going to read these relatively quickly, but take your time. You can pause the video, come back, do whatever you need to do to practice your conversation skills. Number 1. What do you think of the premise that people could be in such a desperate financial state that they would risk their lives for the opportunity to win money? Do you think it's believable? Why or why not? Number 2. We first see Gi-hun trying to earn money by gambling at a horse race. Do you think that gambling is a legitimate way to obtain money? If not, then what alternative would you suggest to Gi-hun? Number 3. Poverty, desperation, and crime usually go together hand in hand. Do you blame the character Kang Sae-byeok for being a pickpocket? If so, then can stealing money ever be excusable? Sae-byeok is that girl who he bumped into after he was gambling. Number 4. Gi-hun agrees to play ddakji with the salesman in the train station, yet many people avoid talking to strangers in public altogether. What about you? Are you open to talking to strangers? Why or why not? Number 5. When Gi-hun loses at ddakji, he can't pay the money, so he accepts being slapped in the face instead. If it were you, would you continue playing until you win to get the 100,000 won, the equivalent of $85, or would you stop playing? Why? Six. Let's say that you were in Las Vegas with $100,000 available to you to gamble and that you had to place at least 10 bets. With that kind of money, would you play low stakes or high stakes games? How much would you be willing to bet at one time? What would have to happen for you to stop playing? Seven. One of Gi-hun's primary motivations is that he's trying to get custody of his daughter. Do you think that when a couple divorces, the parent who gets custody of the children should be decided by their financial status? What if one parent is rich and the other is poor? How would you determine who gets custody? 8. Imagine that you were there on the night that Gi-hun and the other contestants entered the van to go to the Squid Game. Would you have gotten into the van, or would you have backed out of participating? 9. There were 456 players at the beginning of the Squid Game. If the players knew that being eliminated in the game would result in them being killed, then how many players do you think still would have gone to the game? Why do you think that? 10. Is red light, green light a popular game in your nation? Have you played it before? Are you any good at it? Would you risk your life at the game for a chance to win $10 million? 11. When people began to die during the red light, green light game, many of the players panic and try to run away. Others freeze in place in fear. Yet the masked guards in pink seem to not react at all to people being killed. Do you think it's realistic that people could be so cold-hearted and unmoved by people being killed in front of their eyes? 12. When the players began to be shot and killed during the game, how would you have reacted if you were one of the players? How would you have reacted if you were one of the guards? Are you sure that's the reaction you would really have? Why? So there we have it. Like I said, with the discussion questions, try to be as expressive and creative as you can be. The answers to the questions don't really matter. What matters is that you practice and improve your English. And hopefully you like this video. If you want more, then simply like this video and let me know in the comments. And subscribe to this channel for more advanced English lessons. Advanced lessons aren't as easy to find as beginner lessons, so maybe you should subscribe if you want to improve your English at a higher level. So with that said, that's the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.